That is a lot of blood,
I
though.
haven't seen this. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This is the actual footage where they found her?
Yeah, this is actually the body cam footage.
Holy.
So yeah, Dan, let's look at this case. This is from Twitter. This is from the Twitter feed from Chris Evans at Not Captain America. This is a case about Matthew Boynton and Jessica Boynton, his wife. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, Matthew Boynton went to have dinner with a colleague at the Waffle House. He received a text from his wife, Jessica, that said, "I can't do this anymore. Take care of the children. Please tell them I love them every day. I have been suffering for a while now, and no one has noticed." So right out the gate, Dan, it sounds like we've got a little bit of a text here.
Yep.
So we read a little bit about this case before we actually dove into this.
Yeah.
And we're both really confused.
Yeah, we spent the last hour or so, maybe hour and a half, looking into this because we didn't really understand fully what was going on. Some oddities.
I had honestly been wanting to do this for a while. I've literally had this tab up for about a month now. I thought this would be a good first episode for a podcast to really deep dive into and see what we can figure out here. But yeah, so yeah, we got what looks to be a text of a man's wife saying she's going to end it. Let's move on here a little bit further here. And Chris, again, this is all from Chris Evans' Twitter. We are going to jump around a little bit here on the internet and go to different links and stuff, but we are starting out with Chris Evans' Twitter. Second tweet here. "I have not been able to recognize the person I see in the mirror." This is still her text yet, I'm assuming. "This is not the first time I've had thoughts. I love you and the boys. Matthew called EMS and asked them to go to the house because he was afraid of what Jessica may have done to herself or the children. When Matthew got back to the apartment, he said he heard 2 gunshots as he approached. He ran quickly to the bedroom where his son typically slept, and when he didn't see him there, he ran back outside, saying he wasn't sure if there was an active shooter scenario. When the police showed up, their older son was asleep in his bed, and the baby was in the crib." So, all right. So let's do this a little slow here. So right out the gate here, Matt shows up to the apartment, and the son's not in the bedroom. The older son, right?
Yeah.
Gets to the apartment, he hears two gunshots. He quickly ran to the bedroom where his son typically slept. Or it didn't say older there. But then when the police showed up, the older son was asleep in the bed and the baby's in the crib. Okay, so I'm assuming there's a baby and a boy, so it has to be the kid here. So where was the kid here in this tweet?
Yeah.
That's just, out the gate. It's sort of weirdly worded. All right. The officers found Jessica in her bedroom closet. She had suffered a gunshot wound to the head with Matthew's service weapon. Did I mention he's a cop?
I've heard the 911 call as well, and they ask him if there's any weapons in the house, and he says, only my service weapon. He lets them know that that's the only weapon in the house is his service weapon.
Okay. I need to hear the 911 call also. We'll play that here in a second. Let's get just a little bit deeper here. When the police we got past that. When the police called Jessica's grandparents, who raised her, to inform them Jessica had committed suicide, they couldn't believe it. It didn't make sense. They said whenever they'd go to the gun range, Jessica would sit out. She had never wanted to have anything to do with guns. Jessica's sister showed up and asked Matthew if you had killed my sister. He insisted that he had not, that Jessica shot herself. There's just one problem. Mega Browning and her husband, their neighbors, said they had heard the shots at 11 p.m., not 1 a.m. And when Matthew reported the crime, another couple who lived nearby also told police they heard the shots around 11 p.m.
Yeah, so
Megan Browning was also...
That's pretty consistent. So he's reporting the shots were at 1 a.m. and the neighbors are saying 11.
Both neighbors. And that's two different people that have no reason to...
Right.
Lie against this guy out the gate. So, yeah, Megan Browning who was actually friends with Jessica, wanted to tell the police more about what she knew, but they interviewed her for 8 minutes, left, and never returned. Jessica had no gunpowder on her hands. Her gunshot wound was at the top of her skull. How would she be able to position the gun to shoot herself from that angle? And one indentation on the closet wall showed at least one bullet had been fired from an upward angle. Now, here's where it gets weird, right?
So immediately you get fucking you get Vladimir Putin vibes, right? Like, yeah, you've heard the stories of guys, but they were shot in the back of the head.
Himself.
Right, but they were shot in the back of the head. She was shot in the top of the head. You're not going to kill yourself.
It's the current day
like
Epstein
this.
thing.
You're not gonna You're not gonna do that. You know, you're gonna do it in a more traditional way. It's
Yeah,
side of the head,
100%.
or in the mouth, or under the chin. You're not gonna do it on the top of the head. It's just not.
Yeah.
Not practical.
So we are going to dive off here. There's a lot of this. We're going to get through this, but I do want to just kind of sidetrack here for a second, because this is the first real inconsistent, maybe the major only real inconsistent thing that we found that doesn't match anything. I shouldn't say anything. There's one major. There's two websites that do basically not two websites. Every website and one other website that do not match on this. On the gun shunt theory here, basically.
Yeah, so there's a change.org petition where they are saying that she was not, you see in bold right there, no entrance wound. Apparently the medical examiner was saying that she was not shot at all. He thinks that it was just blunt force trauma. There was no entrance or exit wound. There was no bullet found in her body. There was no entrance or exit wound, so she wasn't shot.
And on this is an actual report from the hospital, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The Atlanta Surgery and Trauma.
Maybe. I mean, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, allegedly.
Right. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, we can't verify. This is actually from straight up a Twitter, not a Twitter page, a YouTube page. Yeah. The case of Matthew Boynton.
But what's funny is even in this video, while he's showing this screenshot, he's talking about how there was no bullet wound, but it doesn't actually say that in this document here.
You want to read some of this document? Can you see that well enough?
Yeah, sure. So, as the attending physician caring for Jessica Boynton during her hospitalization at Atlanta Medical Center from 4/15/2016 until 5/16/2016, I would like to offer the following narrative of my observations during the course of her hospitalization. Jessica was admitted to the hospital at 2:48 a.m. on 4/15/2016. As the trauma physician on call for that evening, I met Jessica in the emergency room upon her arrival by EMS services. The report we received from the paramedics who delivered Jessica to the trauma bay was that she was the victim of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. It was reported that she was alone in a closet when, out of the blue, her husband heard 2 shots fired and found her unconscious and bleeding. As noted, this description is typical of the information we might receive from the paramedics, as it reflects the information that they were given upon arrival at the scene of the incident. Although we have no way to assess the veracity of this statement, there were several observations about Jessica that did not fit that description. First of all, the wound that she suffered was towards the vertex. So they're talking about how the wound was at the top of her head.
Right.
The vertex of her skull on the right side of her head. This wound would imply that she shot herself with a gun pointed downward near the top of her skull. This wound would imply that she shot herself with a gun pointed downward. I just read that twice, didn't I? This would be a very unusual direction in which to point the gun at oneself with the intention of committing. The second most striking observation made by me while assessing Jessica was that
Oh, you're good.
It's reported that she was right-handed and shot herself with her right hand. Remarkably, neither of her hands had any evidence of gunpowder stippling from gunpowder blowback. Literally, both of her hands were pristine and unmarked. I pointed out this observation to the emergency physician, Dr. James Clark, who was also in attendance upon Jessica's arrival. There's also a typo even in this document. Upon Jessica's arrival. You see that?
Yeah.
In the emergency room. He too was surprised that there was no evidence of gunpowder stippling on her right hand or her left hand that would be consistent with firing a firearm herself, to my knowledge, no further. See, again, this doesn't say anything about blunt force trauma. But in this video, when he has this document displayed, he's talking about how there was no gunshot wound, and it appeared to be blunt force trauma. So
Let's see if we can play a little bit of it.
Confused about that.
Neighbors claimed to have heard a single gunshot, but never at the time that Matthew claimed it happened. Instead, they claimed it happened between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m., before Matthew left for his late-night meal with Officer Guthrie. Family and friends also claimed that Jessica hated guns and would not understand how to handle one. The police had also located the journal that Jess had kept to document when Matthew had been cheating. It was discovered next to her body on the night of the shooting, with several pages torn out. The medical professionals that saved Jessica claimed that she did not suffer any gunshot injuries. Instead, it was more likely that she was struck by an object at the top of her
That's what you were just saying, but it doesn't actually say that in this document if you actually read it.
Yeah.
head, causing her to suffer major blunt force trauma injury.
Because you just read the entire thing, except for this bottom part. Upon her arrival at AMC, Jessica was incubated and unresponsive. She remained in a coma for as long as 3 weeks during her hospitalization. Then she gradually regained consciousness. Her course in the ICU reflected a genuine concern for her potential for developing intracranial, I'm ruining that word, hypertension and secondary brain injury as a result of this concern. Yeah, there's not what he's literally saying. You're right.
You would think that if he's trying to use this document as to make his point, then he would use. Is there more to this document? Right?
Right.
Are there other pages that we need to look at? We tried to find it ourselves earlier tonight.
Yeah, we did,
and we couldn't. Maybe our Google expertise isn't quite up to par to find
you
it.
possibly might have to pay for it as well.
I did. Yes, I actually did find. I maybe found the document, but it was a paywall thing. So
Claimed that
I'm gonna listen to this one more time.
she did not suffer any gunshot injuries. Instead, it was more likely that she was struck by an object at the top of her head, causing her to suffer major blunt force trauma injuries. There was no blood spatter found in the closet where Jessica is presumed to have shot herself. And the list goes on. Despite all of this, the department...
I do have this, which is the actual footage here. We're not going to watch all this, of course, but this is right after, and I'm assuming right when the EMTs have shown up. That is a lot of blood,
I
though.
haven't seen this. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This is the actual footage where they found her?
Yeah, this is actually the body cam footage.
Holy.
So she's in the closet here.
Wow.
Let me jump out of here. So we have to get her out of here, I'm assuming. There's no audio, though. It's probably for the best. Yeah, they've moved her. She's completely unconscious.
Oh.
And a lot of blood. Yeah, she was just there for a second, and that was a pretty decent, pool happening. Instantly on the carpet.
So,
there.
I mean, why is there not more information out there about her wounds? Was it a laceration? Was it a bullet wound? It shouldn't be that hard to determine.
And, we'll come back to this if need be.
But we also only have like one or two sources saying that there was no bullet wound, whereas everybody else seems to say she was shot. So.
And then this. Okay, this is from, again, that YouTube thing we're just watching. It was actually 11 Alive. They have 1 million subscribers out of Atlanta. It looks like this is a legit news station. One of my links here is this station. This is from last updated on January 9th, 2020. This was first published February 2017. They have in here what I thought was weird. This is from September 8th, 2016. From the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the Honorable Kenny Smith, City of Griffin, excuse me. Dear Sir, the GBI has completed its investigation in the death of Jessica Lester Boynton. It is the finding of this agency that the death is the GBI will take no further action in this matter. It's signed by director Vernon M. Keenan. There's another name down here, Chief Mike Yates, Griffin PD. That's with the police department, I'm assuming. And then the GBI is Georgia. What is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation? Is that some kind of branch off of the FBI? Or just a higher up
Yeah, I don't know about
police
that.
force in Georgia? But this looks official, and she was never actually dead.
Right.
Is the thing. I mean, they would have taken her to the hospital literally this night after this footage we're watching. They would have known she's not dead. She was put into an induced coma. Why would something like that even ever be written? Right? Okay, that's a lot of blood.
Very strange. Huh. So the GBI is an independent statewide agency that supports the state's criminal justice system in the areas of criminal investigations, forensic laboratory services, and computerized criminal justice information. It sounds like the GBI is who you send samples to and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a big inconsistency that we found here. I'm going to keep reading a little bit of this Twitter feed.
They do forensic investigation for the police force, basically. Which is interesting, though. Why would they be declaring her dead?
Even that's a better question, actually.
Why would they write this? Why would they have an official document sent out that she was dead?
Yeah. This case definitely.
Scribd,
really
by the way, that Scribd that's on that's the same site where I found the police or the medical documents, but it was I had to pay for it.
Gotcha.
I couldn't actually
They've linked
get
it
to
here. Let's see. Jessica had no gunpowder on her hands. Her gunshot was to the top of her skull. Yeah. When they went through Matthew's phone, it showed that after receiving Jessica's text, he had actually responded to a text from his mistress, Courtney, before calling the police. Matthew responded to a joke from Courtney Calloway. "Ha ha, I'm sorry I didn't think about that." Laugh out loud, he wrote. Then he called EMS. "Can you please dispatch a unit out of my location?" he said calmly in reference to my wife. Now, where can I find this 911 call?
I heard it in that same video that I sent you earlier. But yeah, that's pretty sketchy. If that's true, if he replied, if they timelined it out, and he replied to his girlfriend or mistress or whatever you want to call her before he called 911, and he responded to her. Not only did he respond to her, he responded to her in like a joking LOL. Haha manner.
Yeah, that's not something you're going to do.
That's insanity, right?
Yeah.
At 2 minutes.
Here we go.
Thoughts. I love you and the boys. Matthew then immediately calls a friend at police dispatch.
Are you on EMS? Mm-hmm. Can you please dispatch a unit out to my location? It's in reference to my wife. I left the location. I'm backing around on Carver Road now. I'll be back there in about 2 minutes. She's having faults. My kids are at home with her, so I'm trying to hurry up and get back there. I'm driving. She just said that she's been experiencing faults right now. She told me to take care of the boys. I'm trying to hurry up and get back home just to make sure that nothing's going to happen to them. Any weapons inside the house? Just my service weapons.
Matthew makes it back to the apartment before help arrives and hears baby Tyler crying. Matthew then enters the home and heads towards the closet where he keeps his service revolver. The door is locked from the inside. Matthew, now frantic, then makes another call.
I believe I just heard a shot fired coming in my residence. I just came up the stairs 2 rounds. Be advised of a smoke gun smoke, and I can't get an answer to the door. Stay outside.
Listen to him.
Matthew Boynton.
Now, the first call, he didn't sound really worried at all.
Right, but when he gets there...
But that sounded legit.
That sounded like he was scared.
That sounded like, I mean, he's clearly not an actor.
Yeah.
From the first call.
And it gets like
the first call, he almost sounded like, I've got to make this call. I don't really truly believe she's going to do this, but I have to do this call just in case.
Which
to
is
save
how
my ass.
I would probably be.
And then, especially if she's, I think there's a part of the story. I think there's a part of the story where she had threatened this before, though, as well.
Okay.
There's a history of this, maybe.
Where she's
allegedly. I'm sorry.
She's threatened to like.
I'm not sure if it was exactly, but just being, threatening. I can't even really say exactly what she said.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of remembering this part, but I think that there had been issues of her kind of being like this in the past. Again, I don't want to say.
So she like, she's.
I forget where I read it. It was in one of these articles, though.
Yeah. So he probably feels like she wasn't serious, but he made the call anyway because out of concern. I mean, we're giving the guy credit right now, but when you know the full story, he doesn't deserve it. But
the second call, though.
But that call, he sounded scared to death.
Go back here.
I believe I just heard a shot fired coming in my residence. I just came up the stairs 2 rounds, be advised of a smoke, and I can't get an answer to the door. Stay outside.
That sounds absolutely traumatizing.
Yeah.
Like,
and it
dramatic,
it gets worse. Like, so there's other, there's body cam footage of I think it's body cam footage of the response team, right? So they come and he's outside.
What we were just watching?
It's after this. So go to 10 minutes, 30 seconds.
Father, Sheriff Wendell Beam, being in control
Listen
at the time.
to him here.
Although Matthew was acting seriously, emotionally distraught in several moments from the body cam footage.
What are my kids gonna do? I could have jumped. I mean, if I could have been here 2 minutes earlier, man, I could have jumped in front of the gun and tried to get it from her, man.
Matthew is actually back to work within
distraught.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Actually, now that I hear it again, that one's less convincing.
That one's not as convincing as the first one.
Many of the neighbors.
And when you know the full story, none of it's convincing because
that's the thing.
I'm pretty set on the fact that he did something to her, right?
Yeah,
but I mean, he definitely did a good job. I think trying to convince. But it also this whole thing gets silly as we move on. It gets silly, the mistakes that he made. Like, how, if he really is trying to convince anybody that he didn't do this, I mean, if she wasn't shot, if it's true that she wasn't shot, which seems weird, and we have found no way to prove that she wasn't shot. There's 2 articles that say she wasn't shot.
Right.
Anyway, if she wasn't shot, why would he call and say, or why would he why would he immediately be like, she shot herself or she committed suicide?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Hang on. So let's go through the scenario where what could have possibly happened? Let's say she wasn't shot. Let's go with that. Let's say she was not shot. But there was 2 shots fired. We know that for sure. 2 shots were fired because there was 2 bullet holes in the closet.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He shot at her twice and missed both shots? A police officer?
Yeah.
Knows how to use his gun
at close range.
At probably, I'm assuming, very close range. I mean, the bedroom is probably not that big. She's in the closet, right? The bullet holes are in the closet, so she's probably in the closet, and she was found in the closet. So whatever happened, she was in the closet. So he misses 2 shots, and then decides to beat her with the gun or some other object instead.
Right. Because why would he only have 2 rounds?
And then not only that, but he goes along with the suicide, she shot herself story, right? This whole thing about her not being shot doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. When you first found that on that change.org, I was like, what? Like, I've seen nothing on that.
Or she gets shot. She shot in the top of the head, which automatically says, she didn't fucking commit automatically. So he shoots her in the top of the head. But still, him knowing that he shot her in the top of the head is saying, I mean, this guy can't be that stupid.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Let's go forward a little bit here.
Yeah.
Okay. There wasn't enough evidence to prove suicide, but also not enough to prove Matthew killed her either. But in a twist of fate, despite the gruesome injuries Jessica suffered, it turns out she did not die. The doctors put her in a medically induced coma and waited for her to wake up. Everyone's waiting with bated breath for Jessica to regain consciousness to confirm whether she had been whether she had attempted or whether her husband Matthew had actually shot her. Georgia Bureau of Investigation summary in an interview with Jessica's neurosurgeon noted that she called the circumstances of her injuries suspicious, but the agent who conducted the interview failed to record the conversation. He hadn't charged his audio recorder. So now we start, at least in the perception of these this Twitter feed from Chris Evans, again, that's who I'm using as a source here. We're going to now start getting into more and more inconsistencies with the police.
Yeah.
And again, Matthew was a police officer. And then even on another, I think that's mentioned in here as well, his father was the sheriff of this town.
I think it's his grandfather.
His grandfather, excuse me. I'm sorry. So let's see here, get a little bit deeper. King, her neurosurgeon, said, "You would think it would have been simple enough to put bags on her hands and test them for gunshot residue. I was wondering why, but then it came to pass that her husband was a police officer and her granddaddy was the sheriff." So yeah. So I understood. Basically what he's saying there is that he understood that something was going on.
Well, and this part
That's what he's
confused
alluding
me
to, right?
earlier, because he said,
Right.
you'd think it would have been simple enough to put bags on her hands to test for gunshot residue, but apparently she was tested for gunshot residue. So
You read somewhere else.
I mean, even upwards in this thread, it says that. In this same thread, it says that. So that part was weird to me. I don't know where that quote came from, but apparently maybe the neurosurgeon didn't know that she wasn't tested, so I don't know. Because that's a quote from the neurosurgeon.
Right.
So maybe
It's put in quotations in this thread. So
maybe he didn't know that she was tested, but apparently from other sources she was tested. Or maybe
right.
maybe the neurosurgeon knows something we don't. She wasn't tested, but they said she was. I don't know.
Okay. 3 weeks after being put into a coma, Jessica finally woke up, but she didn't remember anything about the shooting.
How
she could not tell the
unfortunate.
right. When I was
How
first reading this, I
unfortunate.
was like, okay, this is a movie now.
Yeah.
She could not tell the police definitively how she had been shot or who did it. She thought she had been in a car accident. So this entire thing is still talking as if she had been shot. The one thing that I kind of found weird here is that this is leaning towards his article, the Twitter feed, his kind of opinion is kind of leaning towards that she's been screwed here by her cop husband.
Yeah.
But you think he would have added in the part about her not actually being shot by the people that are actually trying to help her,
Yeah.
like change.org.
Yeah.
That seems strange. So another little bit of another just slight inconsistency there. No disrespect to Chris Evans whatsoever. Just kind of reading what's in front of us here.
Well, he may not have all the information, you know.
And he may not have all the information either. And there could be slight typos. You never know there.
Yeah.
Because there are just slight little things. But the case is also strange. I mean, let's see.
Who is Chris Evans? He's verified. Who is this guy?
I think he is a reporter. Let's see. No, small business owner, receipts achiever, and provider. The podcast. I think he's sort of like a journalist, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he's verified, so he's made some kind of name for himself, I guess, right?
And how many followers did he have? I think he had probably a lot of followers there. Yeah, 109,000 followers.
Like, being verified still means something, doesn't it?
No, not really. I think you can buy the check mark now.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. That means he's paying $8 to Elon Musk currently.
Oh, okay.
For that check mark. Let's see. 3 weeks after being put into the coma. Oh, wait, we got there. So yeah, when she wakes up, 3 weeks after being put into the coma, Jessica finally woke up, but she didn't remember anything about the shooting. She could not tell the police definitively who done it. She thought she'd been in a car accident, got there. The GBI agents asked if she had ever handled Matthew's gun. No, this is a quote, "No, I can't even get it out of the case," she said.
Yeah.
She wasn't
This
sure
part's
how to
interesting.
unlock the safety lever on the holster. And this is reading like they're literally showing with one in front of her.
Yeah.
That's how it's reading to me. Have you ever had any thoughts about hurting yourself? No, never. Her surgeon wrote that she was a very positive person who is embracing the opportunities that the new lease on life is afforded to her by her recent recovery. She has a sense of humor and a gentle personality. She speaks lovingly of her children and the need to and desire to see them. So even if the police husband, Matthew, was going to try to maybe, if she didn't wake up from this coma, if he was going to try to be playing the card of, she doesn't care about the children.
Yep.
This doctor is right now, here and now, contradicting that. She wants to see her kids.
How
a
unfortunate
psychiatrist
is it that she didn't remember anything?
Right? That's what makes it so like Lifetime movie-ish.
Yeah.
Right?
Crazy.
A psychiatrist who assessed her for depression apparently saw no need to give her a diagnosis or refer her for treatment. A second psychiatrist thought she had an appropriate mood and effect, appropriate judgment and insight. Get this.
Wait, hang on a second here.
Okay.
This guy had a 40 caliber weapon. 40 caliber. That is a huge bullet.
That is a
How
huge
do you
bullet.
shoot someone in the top of the head? How do you? There's no way she was shot.
That makes it seem like
There's
it
no
definitely
way
didn't
she was
happen.
shot. There's no way.
That makes it seem like Change.org is
She
the only
would
person that has it
not.
right.
She would not have lived. There's no possible way. Even if she did live, she would have been a vegetable, or there would have been something way more
Yeah.
wrong with her than her
I mean-
losing a night memory, or yeah.
What is it called? A 40 cal?
A 40 caliber bullet is huge, dude. I mean, it would have blown out her entire. If she
it's
was
what a
shot in the top of the head.
Okay, here's a 9mm next to it. It's really fat.
I mean, it's a big bullet, dude. Look
yeah,
at
because a
the
9mm bullet it's the
Can
same
you-
height, but it's
can you
just fatter.
show an exit wound of a 40 caliber? Can you Google that?
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been insanity. It would blow out your entire jaw if you got shot with a 40 caliber weapon.
That's about the same as a 9mm.
That's the entry wound. Look at the exit.
Oh shit! No, you're right. Damn. No, you're right. My bad.
It would destroy your face.
My bad. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's going directly down into her brain.
Yeah.
Good call, dude.
There's no way she would live through that.
Good call. Yeah. No way. Holy crap. Yeah, I'm with the only person that's got it right is these people.
I think it's
How do
absolutely impossible that she was shot in the top of the head with a 40 caliber weapon and lived.
How do all of these news stations have it different?
Nobody's
and the
reporting
guy on Twitter who's trying to actually defend her.
Nobody's reporting it.
Chris Evans didn't even get this part right. Right?
Well, have you read the entire thread? Does he maybe mention it at the end or later or something?
We'll see. We'll see. At the beginning, he does say she's shot, though.
Yep.
We're going to say allegedly after everything here.
Yep. I think any gun buffs who listen to this are going to agree with me. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, no, you
There's
blew my mind
almost
with that.
there's no chance.
A psychiatrist who assessed her for depression apparently saw no need to give her a diagnosis. Oh, read that one. Get this. When she finally recovered enough to leave the hospital, Jessica could not come within 300 yards of her children. Matthew had filed a protective order because family violence occurred in the past and may reoccur in the future. When the protective order expired, her petition to have it extended for another year, citing Jessica's grandparents not believing she had herself. So she didn't think they would. Oh shit. So he didn't think they were of sound mind to take care of the children. When Jessica's lawyers pointed out that the emergency room doctors disagreed with the manner in which Jessica was injured, Matthew responded by saying, "I only care about the GBI report." Yeah, he had some kind of connection with the GBI.
The sheriff, I guess.
Yeah, where he's so deep, where he's so deep with his dad, his granddad,
Yeah.
probably helping him out. Jessica's friend, Megan Browning, the one who heard the shots happening hours before Matthew claimed they did, wanted to just testify at the hearing. She wanted to bear witness to the abuse she said Jessica had suffered. But she wanted to speak to the judge privately in the chambers because she was afraid of Matthew and the repercussions from the law enforcement buddies. The judge refused. No witnesses testified in the hearing, so she was afraid to testify. In September of 2016, the GBI closed its case, concluding that Jessica's wounds were self-inflicted. Her DNA.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we just read. But that read like she had actually died, right?
Yeah, this one says she was dead, right?
Yeah, and this is labeled September 8th.
Wait, hang on. The Georgia, this one says she was dead. Investigation of the death of Jessica Lester Boynton.
In the finding of this agency that the death is a and right here it says September 16th. It doesn't give an actual day, but they're both September. The GBI closed its case, concluding that Jessica's wounds were self-inflicted. Her DNA had been found on the gun, which was to be expected.
When did this happen?
Lying on it.
When did this? Huh? When did the incident happen?
If the body cam footage is right, that has April 15th, 2016.
How could they write?
So months after she had been in a coma and already woken up, presumably, right?
So they just completely. It's almost like complete like they just didn't. Well, they weren't even paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, like
and where he says, I only care what the GBI report says. It's only what really the books say is what's happening.
You know what cracks me up about this? Excuse me. It's almost like they were just handed something like, "Hey, make this look good," and they didn't realize what the actual case was. Right? They didn't realize what everything was about.
That's what it does read like.
Like, why would you? How could you possibly? The incident happened in, what'd you say, April?
April. That's what it says.
In September, they write a report saying the death of yada yada yada.
That's so weird.
That makes no sense.
That's so weird.
That just shows carelessness and
yeah,
like they're not actually doing their job whatsoever. They're just they're just spitting out reports just for the to make things work. And they didn't pay attention. That is why we have
this petition.
Right.
But I will say that this still reads like sloppily. Like, he's not really pointing out any of this.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That's still wild, though. Yeah, they were just like, oh, who's that for? Oh, man, that's for
regardless,
Boynton boy.
Yeah, regardless of, I mean, just the fact that GBI report was written in September is insane to me. Like, if they had written that report super early on, like, immediately after the incident happened or something, I guess, it would have still been super suspicious, but it would have made more sense that they said the death of...
Months later.
We're talking, I mean...
That's weird.
That's 4 months
weird,
later.
Man.
I mean, that's 5 months later.
In September of 2016, the GBI closed its case. Read that. Yeah. Her DNA was found on the gun because she'd been laying on it. Neither Matthew nor Jessica had been given a gunpowder residue test. This deterred the medical examiner who spent 1 hour on the case and never examined Jessica. He concluded that Jessica had herself, though he indicated that his assessment would never be more definitive had there been a photo of Jessica's wound before she had surgery. They didn't even take a picture of her wound. There's so many ball dropping situations going on about everybody. But Jessica's aunt Kathy had in fact taken a picture of Jessica's bruise on her skull in the hospital. She gave it to the agent. Somehow the photo never ended up in the GBI's report. They interviewed 8 police officers, some of whom were Matthew's.
Is obviously corrupted.
Totally corrupted here in Georgia, right? Corrupted. They interviewed 8 police officers, some of whom were Matthew's good friends. One told the agents that Matthew was telling me how she kind of acts crazy sometimes when she don't get her way. The GBI did not interview any of Jessica's family or friends. Matthew was never changed in connection with Jessica's shooting. Matthew was never charged in connection with Jessica's shooting. He was only later charged with lying to police about returning Jessica's belongings.
There it is. That's what I was talking about earlier.
When an ex-girlfriend came forward and said she knew he still had a bag of her stuff.
Yeah. So he was charged with keeping a bag of her stuff.
Wow. Matthew's case was presented to a grand jury in July of 2018. Under Georgia law, police officers, unlike civilians, had the right to make a prepared statement at the end of the grand jury hearing. There is no public record of the proceedings.
Do you know what's funny too, though?
What?
So that video I sent you, where they interrogate him, right?
Yeah.
So they find out that he owned that bag, or that he had that bag and he lied about it. Like, what charge is that, do you think? Like, oh, I have a bag and I didn't tell you that I had it. What kind of a charge do you think that is?
I don't even know what that is.
Right? But it doesn't seem like
nothing.
Not a big charge.
Right.
Watch his reaction. Watch the.
Okay. Is it in here?
Yeah. So here, I'll find it and I'll.
Does he freak out?
He doesn't freak out, but you can see what he starts to do. Let me find the timestamp. All right, so he figures out that they know that he has the bag. So go to 22:13 and just watch it from here.
Yes, sir.
He just starts taking all of his gear off. He's like, "Oh, they got me."
That's his reaction.
Yeah, I mean, but it's such a minor offense, you would think. Like, why would he be worried about losing his... I mean, maybe,
he's taking it off very carefully.
Maybe you would lose your job over something like that. I don't know, as a police
crying?
officer. But he's almost reacting like he feels like he's caught. Like, caught. Like, going to prison caught.
Right.
Like, he's removing everything.
That is a weird reaction. It'd be hilarious if he got completely naked.
He continues to remove the gear too as he talks. But this interrogation's intense. Like, these guys are not easy on him at all. Like, they are.
Really?
Why would you say you didn't have the damn bag when you had it? You know you can't give a sworn statement and lie on it.
Oh, he lied on a sworn statement. That's why it's so serious.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that.
It's not like it was... Talk to me, man. I mean, help me understand.
Sergeant, I swear to God, I know it's hard to believe, but I didn't think about that bag. Otherwise, I wouldn't have run. I said, hold on, LT. I got something. Let me go get it. I swear I wouldn't have done that because I've got 2 kids, 3 and 1. I wouldn't jeopardize that over a bag. I'm telling you, Sergeant.
Huh. That's really strange.
No, now I understand. I thought it was strange a minute ago, but he lied on a sworn statement. I'm pretty sure that's a felony.
Right. No, that is. And if that's actually provable, then he's screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually try to take him on that.
I was thinking he was overreacting.
That's way worse than,
Yeah, my initial thought that he was overreacting because he thought they caught him on something else. You know what I mean? But no, him lying in a sworn statement, that's a felony anyway, so he's fucked. Or he lost his job anyway.
But the grand jury choose not to indict Matthew either for making false statements or for violating his oath. 4 months later, he was hired as a reserve officer in Brashwell, Georgia, a community of 400 people. So he's still working now as a cop.
Wow. Well, I think
I guess is a reserve officer a cop?
I think I have no idea. I think the Georgia Bureau of Investigation needs to be investigated. That's what
a non-career commissioned officer in a military reserve unit who has served at active duty and who may be recalled. What? I don't even know what that's weird wording.
Yeah, I wish there was more information on her wounds.
I wish there was more info.
I want to know.
That was a good, Chris Evans did break down and make me interested in this, but, there's still inconsistencies between all of this.
I want to know exactly what her wounds were. I want to know, I want the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, to be investigated themselves.
Oh
because
yeah,
they are obviously doing some shady shit.
Super
over
corrupt,
there.
right?
Yeah.
And then here's photos of her actual journal or diary.
Oh yeah, she was writing notes about stuff she wanted to take because she was ready for a divorce. She was going to leave him.
Right. So there are, there's reasons that that he might be freaking out. Yeah, Matthew, grandson of then sheriff of Spalding County. So he was that was.
So the night that it happened, they were at Walmart, and they got into an argument.
Footage. I saw that.
They got into an argument at Walmart, and he actually called the police saying that she wouldn't leave with him. Right.
Right.
And so there's video footage. There's surveillance footage of her leaving, and then I guess at some point she comes back in or whatever, and then they leave together. And then they got into an argument inside of Walmart, I guess is what happened.
And she's leaving now with the baby.
And then but they end up leaving together, and he's got like a gray sweatshirt on inside of Walmart. And then later that night is when she leaves by herself.
Well, he was behind her there.
Oh, okay. I just know, at some point. Anyway. So he had like a gray sweatshirt on, and then when the shooting happened, and the EMS comes out to respond to that, he has a red sweatshirt on, and he actually told them that he did not change clothes that night. There's evidence that he changed clothes. He has two different sweatshirts on.
Yeah. Right there, he's lying. Yeah. Huh. So much craziness. So much weird, contradictory BS.
They had crazy issues. They were high school sweethearts. They've been together since they were like 15, 16 years old. They got married when they were super young. I think like 18 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm wrong. They had a kid when they were like 18. They got married way after that. But what happened was she had an affair. So she cheated on him with some guy, and she got pregnant with another kid. And then he stayed with her. They didn't break up. They raised that kid as well. And then they got married. And this whole thing happened, I think it was only like 6 months after they got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But he was cheating on her too. So I left that part out. He was cheating on her. Recently.
So it's just a dysfunctional mess all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, they were both screwing each other over the whole time. I mean, it's just none of it was good.
Yeah, what a crazy.
They were just bad for each other, and it turned out in a violent way, which is ridiculous. I just don't understand why.
Poor kids.
Yeah.
I mean, she's lucky she's alive. He's lucky he's not in prison, I guess.
Look
and then
at
these
that.
poor
What
kids are still have these terrible people as parents.
What is that?
That's got to be one of the gunshots.
Look at that exit, dude.
Look how big that is.
Imagine
you were dead on with that, dude.
If that's in your head, dude.
That's like exactly what we looked at earlier, basically.
If that's in your head.
That's not going to be going in the and being fine. You nailed that, bro.
There's no way she was shot.
Nah, you nailed that.
There's no way she was shot and lived. So nobody's reporting it except for like that one that change.org page.
Change.org is actually reporting it correctly.
They referenced I
think that's the weirdest part of the whole thing is the guy the Twitter guy that I started this whole thing on. He seemed to be on her side, but he didn't actually factually say it doesn't appear she was actually shot.
So
pretty huge.
True Crime Daily is the only place that says it. The doctor in the trauma unit says Jessica Boynton, sorry.
Boynton, I believe.
Wasn't even shot. Did you ever pull this up? Pull this one up for him.
Yeah, shoot that one to me. Behind the closed door, Crime Watch Daily investigates the Jessica Boynton case. July 28, 2017. A Griffin police officer who was investigated in his ex-wife's shooting was charged Friday, July 28th with making false statements and violating his oath. Matthew Boynton allegedly deprived ex-wife Jessica Lester of her belongings and lied, yada, yada. It was determined that he knowingly provided a false statement. Crime Watch Daily investigates something even Jessica herself wants to know. I'm looking for that.
Oh, it just keeps scrolling. Yeah, it's further down. There's like a headline there that says, keep going. There's a bold print. She wasn't even shot. There it is, right there.
Yeah, the doctor in the trauma unit says Jessica wasn't even shot. It's crazy, yeah, that there's so many contradictions on that. Yeah, I don't think she was shot though.
She wasn't shot. There's no way. You're not getting shot by a .40 caliber in the top of your head. No.
No. That's crazy. That's interesting though.
But there were 2 shots fired.
Yeah, 2 shots fired in that closet. There's the other one.
Yeah.
Ripped a giant hole into it as well.
Yeah. I mean.
And then the inconsistencies with what the neighbors heard. It's an interesting one, man.
So much blood, though.
It's a fun one to dig into,
like,
though, nevertheless.
Like one possibly grazed her. Right?
Maybe, right?
To cause all that.
That's actually a really good point. I could see the gun grazing her. Yeah. That would probably be the luckiest thing that could have happened.
But
a lot of blood would come from that.
It would be so easy to know if it's a.
That's true too. True too.
The gun is pointed at you. Even if you decided to do it this way, you could.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, imagine my finger is a gun. I can put it anywhere on the top of my head I want to. Like, you could absolutely that way. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do,
yeah,
it's gonna.
Yeah.
You're not surviving that. Not with a .40 caliber weapon. I just don't see. I just don't see how.
That's a crazy one, dude. Yeah.